And welcome to the Investor Roundtable brought to you by Equity.Guru or the Equity.Guru Investor Roundtable. It's kind of interchangeable. I'm Rob. I'm in the basement with my friend Galen. And Galen today is making what again?
Sun-dried tomato scones with cheese.
Sun-dried tomato scones with cheese. Throw them
Very
over
enjoyable.
Here.
Should try them sometime.
Mr. Vichel's upstairs, and Joseph Morton is over yonder. We're talking about Wellfield. What is Wellfield? It is DeFi, as in decentralized finance. Levy Cohen is the CEO. They're in Israel. They're in Markham, Ontario, and they're also on the Toronto Venture Exchange at WFLD. It is Mr. Morton who will begin the conversation as he wrote the article that you'll find around us somewhere.
All right. Well, first, we can't talk about Wellfield without talking about DeFi first. The more I look into decentralized finance, the more I'm kind of convinced that it's really early. Like, it's uncomfortably early. Like, it is a sector with a lot of potential. I mean, it could be the next great disintermediation play, like how Netflix killed Blockbuster, Amazon killed Sears and other big box chains, and Uber and Lyft are presently disrupting the traditional taxi services, thank God. Or it could just be a flash in the pan. It could end up being nothing, basically. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to determine right now where we sit. It's mostly because the underlying technology is not ready. It's not ready for prime time. I mean, the three cryptos, which are mostly underlying, the three blockchains, I should differentiate between the two, right, which are mostly underlie the DeFi space, are Ethereum, Bitcoin, and to some extent Tether, and they don't scale well, any of them. I mean, if Ethereum 2.0 comes along, we might see it increase scaling. I mean, we have other associated blockchains as well, like Solana and a few others, but they don't scale nearly enough to even compete with the smallest of the traditional finance portals. And I'm talking about the Visas, MasterCard. They have $40,000 transaction, 40,000. I think it's 40,000 transactions a second. Whereas Bitcoin has like 10. You're not going to be able to compete.
And the fees, man, the gas fees for Ethereum are still quite high. So
yeah, they're ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, you can't do business on Ethereum without paying thousands of dollars, and no one's going to do that. I mean, okay, what we have here is Wellfield. Wellfield is a fintech company which is trying to bridge the gap between traditional finance and DeFi. Yeah. And what they do is they have two different products. They have Seamless and they have MoneyClip. Seamless is they offer. Here I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head and I have it in front of me. Seamless.
It's the shift, yeah. Using Bitcoin, right, on the Ethereum platform.
Yeah. They're going to be actually producing a specialized Ethereum token called an ERC token, which will make it compatible with Bitcoin's blockchain. They're planning on doing that later on this year. Thanks for prompting me there. I totally forget that. And I mean, MoneyClip offers you can send and receive digital cash, you can split your bills, you can buy and sell online. It's basically the way you do your commerce. Now, this won't matter if DeFi doesn't scale. So Wellfield is directly tied. Wellfield's fortunes are directly tied to that of DeFi. And if DeFi turns out to be nothing, given some of the regulations and some of the geopolitics involved, this might be nothing, or it might be everything. This could be, like I said earlier, this could be the next Amazon. This could be the next Netflix.
Joseph, are you excited by this? Like the whole idea of being able to use other cryptos? Because, we talked about the gaslight fees on Ethereum are crazy. But I find this a bit exciting, because, I have some experience in the past buying DeFi tokens and trading NFTs, and the gas fees are just crazy. And I believe the Bitcoin fees are a bit better. So if you could,
Bitcoin fees are better. Yeah. I mean, there is some well, I don't know. We get into the weeds on this a little bit, but I mean, with some of Bitcoin's latest developments, they're trying to build alternative sources of Well, they're called second layer applications. Basically,
Okay.
you have the primary layer and you have a secondary layer. The secondary layer is where you do the things that aren't transaction related. Like that's where DeFi and NFTs are made on the second layer usually. I wouldn't use Bitcoin personally. I'd probably port over to AVAX if I was a programmer, because it's vastly cheaper.
Okay.
But I'm not a programmer. The only reason I bought AVAX is because other people could use it, because it has a lot of use value for people who will use it. Therefore, its price will go up to a point where I can sell it and make a profit. But I've gone on for way too long about this. Why don't you?
I'll take over. Thank you. All right. Well, not a huge believer in the blockchain industry or the actual cryptocurrency industry, but this company is trying to address some of the challenges involved with those industries, meaning interoperability between blockchains, i.e. trading Bitcoin for Ethereum, and all that on one platform, which has never been possible before because the blockchain is very specific to the token it creates. They're also trying to do an idea of allowing people to do commerce, again, in a universal fashion through their app MoneyClip, which again would address the universality issue of Bitcoins and other cryptocurrency. They do have to contend, as Joseph said, with the lack of transactional ability. As he said before, Visa transacts 40,000 times a second, whereas this takes about 10 minutes to close a block. So it doesn't bode well right now. This could be an idea of 3D printing, where we have to wait for an actual cultural change, because people themselves, huge learning curve in actually using this system and understanding how it works and understanding how to protect themselves. It's been sold as something that is completely secure, when in fact it suffers from most of the foibles that most other technologies do and can be as easily hacked as pretty well anything else, whether they come in through the back door or not. So these are the challenges that face the industry. And as Joseph said, we are in the embryonic stage. Where it heads, nobody really knows. Could quite possibly be the game changer. Might actually switch around to where this replaces fiat currency entirely. Who knows? I'm not necessarily a believer, but Wellfield Technologies seems to have positioned themselves in a area where it actually can see a future ahead if all of this goes forward. Vishal, why don't you hit up with the technicals?
Okay, good. So it's great we have these two sort of opposing points here, because I think it will be very important to determine what comes next for, cryptos in general, and I would even say the stock market as a whole. So at time, we're recording, Wellfield was down 11% today. Just remember that crazy things are happening on the stock market indices right now. A lot of geopolitical fears, and small caps tend to get beat up when that happens. I would also say, Bitcoin in general. So the crypto industry here, or the crypto sector, as a whole, it looks like we are going to close green for the day on Bitcoin, but it was down. It did take quite the dump here recently with geopolitical fears. And it's something we've said in the past, that the cryptos right now, or Bitcoin in general, are still acting as these risk-on assets, meaning that they move exactly with stocks. You're not necessarily running into cryptos right now for safety, right? So a lot of these crypto bulls were saying, hey, you want to own Bitcoin for safety. It's actually a risk-off asset, just like gold. But clearly, we're not seeing that with the price right now. So basically, the question now heading forward is, okay, are we going to get past this geopolitical situation? And then, there's still the Fed stuff, right? That's around the corner. In March, we're expecting a rate hike from the Fed. But, if they can give people a clear picture of how many hikes they're doing, that might give time for the markets to sort of settle and understand, okay, it's not now just, okay, we're going to do 5 or 6 hikes or 3 hikes, but now we have this concrete number. And markets can begin to stabilize, and perhaps from there, we continue higher, right? So I think it's very important, because when you look at the chart for Wellfield, let's go back a bit. We talked about this major support down here at around the $1.15 zone here. But let's go back to December 29th, 2021, where the stock initially printed new record highs. Of course, those highs were then eclipsed on the 7th of January of this year, of 2022. But back on the 29th of December, we saw the most shares ever traded on the stock, and it was around 700,000 shares traded on that day. But as you can see, we didn't really sustain that momentum. We just began to range around here, and now this $2.10 zone is our major price ceiling going forward, right? So basically, record highs are always great zones for resistance or price ceilings. And then on the opposite end of the scale, which is a bit more, it's going to be what we're going to be talking about here, the support or record lows tends to be great price floor. And usually you want to buy at the price floor and you want to sell at the price ceiling, right? You want to buy at support, sell at resistance. And if you are bullish on cryptos in general, if you are bullish on maybe the stock market recovery, because I think that's the key to, allow cryptos to turn back around and also allow the small caps to turn around. So basically you're betting that all this geopolitical tension, situation will just disappear. Something like Wellfield approaching support. We're not there just yet. We're at $1.25. Our big support level is $1.15. So we might be testing that zone in the upcoming days here, but something like that when you're at support might be a stock that you want to look at if you are front running a recovery. And again, take a look at the previous price action here. We bounced at $1.15 back in late 2021, and I believe when we were talking about the stock earlier this year with Joseph and his crypto roundup. We were looking at Wellfield around this support, and we did actually print what's called an engulfing candle, which is quite a bullish sign. So this is sort of what you want to see, right? You don't necessarily want to just buy a support. You want to first find some evidence that there are buyers coming in, because we can easily just break below support if cryptos continue to drop, or if, say, stock markets continue to drop. So you want to see a sign like this. You want to see a nice green candle, and it looks like in the upcoming days, we're going to be testing that zone for a third time. And you know what they say, third time's the charm. So perhaps we find some support again, and that might be a good sort of zone or base that you can begin to snap, or begin a position, initiate a position for the long run if you are a believer in DeFi and the crypto space. And, Raul, before you ask us like how much to spend, I just want to ask Joseph here, because I know, he did mention it earlier about Avalanche, AVAX, and I know you did write a piece on Avalanche. So a question here is, when you're playing this space here, would you prefer buying the actual tokens, or do you think, it's still a smart play to play some of these stocks here? I'm just asking this sort of as like, you buy the physical gold versus the juniors, I guess sort of a similar approach here.
I'd probably go with a mix of both. If I thought the company was worthwhile going into, I'd buy a bit of the company. The thing is, at this point, I haven't actually seen financials for a lot of companies in this neonatal stage. I would want to see some financial data before I can start making decisions about whether or not I'm going to put money into companies. Yeah. So right now, the only thing I'm doing is buying tokens and coins.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, by the way, I'm pretty sure those two spikes were right after the, just saying, right after our daily ideas and our investor roundtables.
I did that.
See, it might have been you, because that December 29th one, that was literally right after we first did our big.
Back down here. Okay, well.
So they're
I did that. That's me.
Jumping on the love train, the Equity.Guru love train. All right, Joseph, you spend any money right now? Because if you ask me, if you're not trusting the industry or the sector, there still might be a little do-si-do trade opportunity here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thing is, like I said to Vishal, not even a minute ago, I haven't seen the financials on these companies, so I can't determine specifically if they're doing as well as I prefer them.
Right.
I'm mostly waiting for that to happen. I wanted to see the first financial drop, and if they hit a certain dollar amount, certain revenue, I'd probably consider putting some money into it, because they might be making the jump. But it's I don't know. I got to be conservative on this kind of thing. You don't have a lot of money, and that's how this works.
$0 today, and I think Galen is with you.
For relatively the same reasons. Wellfield has put together a decent package in regards to what they intend to address within the sector. And if things take off, they will definitely, be in a position where they can take advantage of that. But one of the biggest challenges for this company in particular, and for any company, is to sell their product, go from promise to actual production. So if they are able to actually make the sales necessary to spread out Money Clip as a retail product, and then also sell their B2B services for the exchange of multiple cryptocurrencies on one platform, then they're well ahead of the curve. But that's a matter of this happening now, right now, with the geopolitics and also the question. The questions being raised in regards to cryptocurrency and its ability to do what it's been promised to do, and also with the same with blockchain. We're in a bit of a holding pattern as far as I'm concerned, the reality trough, as it were. However, you could probably look at this as this is the lowest it's going to get, and most likely, if it ever gets any better, it will just get better. So you could look at this as something you want to throw in now. For me, I'm still a little bit leery, and it's not necessarily because of the company. It's because of the market and because of the state of what the technology is currently. So, if you're a believer, sure, why not? Throw it in. I'm a long-term investor. I'm not looking for a swing trade. I'm not looking for a day trade. So it doesn't interest me in that regard. I don't feel like getting into that game because most of those guys just lose their shirts. So, going at zero.
All right. Michelle, how long do those little upswings last, by the way? So in other words, you're looking for third time's a charm. If you buy it at $1.15.
Yeah, $1.15. I mean, maybe it takes us a few days to get up to $1.75. But if we do bounce from $1.15, that would still be a nice 50% gain if that does happen, right? So I like your idea here, Rob. I think as a trade, there could be something to play here, especially again, we just need that signal. So something like this green engulfing candle, just indicating that there are buyers stepping in here, using that Wall Street Bets quote, or I guess it's from Braveheart, but holding the line. That's what we need to see here. We need to just see evidence that there are buyers here. But, as a trade, I do see an opportunity there, but you just have to wait for your signal. But then, I am sort of on Galen's side here in terms of the overall markets and, with what's going on in the world or currently in the market right now, in the world that's affecting the markets right now, there might be a bit more downside on the equity markets. And unfortunately, that means maybe we break below the support. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just thinking that there might be a bit more weakness and we might not have that environment for buyers to readily step in here. I'm also just going to be sitting on the sidelines for cryptos just because I think there might be some regulations that are coming maybe very soon from the government side of things. And I think that might create some sort of choppiness and some sort of issues, although I think it's actually technically a bullish thing for cryptos, but I think it might create some sort of choppiness here. So as a trade, there is an opportunity. Just wait for your signal. But for a long-term hold, I'm just going to be sitting on the sidelines for now.
All right. I don't have the buzzer. I have the bell for when we go all in, all across the board, but this time it's not all in across the board. It is Levy Cohen, the CEO out of Markham, Toronto, right outside of Toronto, Ontario, and in Israel, it's the TSX Venture Exchange. It's WFLD. It'll be fun to check back and let's say, mid to late March and see if anybody took advantage of a trade opportunity and did something cuckoo.
Exactly.
Of course, we cannot guarantee it. Should you do that, or should you stay out of the game and be angry at us when it does go up? Because we can't guarantee anything. We can't predict the future. If we could, Galen would have bought his Lotto 649 ticket last week. We'd all be having lunch somewhere exquisite.
Absolutely. France.
Yes. So we can't. That would be cool, actually.
It would be.
But for 30, 40, 60 mil, why not?
Yeah.
We can't guarantee anything. We want you to do your own research and homework, and past performance absolutely does not guarantee future results. We'll see you next time on the Equity Guru Investor Roundtable.